Ambassador Zorthalik stood in the center of the vast Galactic Council chamber. His silver skin caught the light from the ceiling crystals, making him shine like a beacon among the hundreds of alien representatives. He had waited 3 standard cycles for this moment. 20 Earth years of study had led him here. Esteemed members of the Council, he began, his translator converting his whistling speech into the standard galactic language. I come before you with urgent concerns about the species known as humans. The chamber quieted. Most species in the Unified Stellar Alliance had never heard of humans. Earth was just one small planet in an unremarkable solar system at the edge of the galaxy. High Chancellor Vex Morin leaned forward on his floating platform. His 6 eyes blinked in sequence, showing mild interest. The Council recognizes Ambassador Zorthalik of the Villani. You may present your findings. Zor touched the control panel on his wrist. The chamber darkened, and a 3-dimensional image of Earth appeared above the central floor. Humans appear simple at first glance, Zor said. They have achieved only limited space travel. Their technology is centuries behind ours, but appearances are deeply misleading. He displayed scenes from human history, ancient battles with primitive weapons, modern wars with explosions lighting up city skylines, nuclear mushroom clouds rising over test sites. Humans have spent most of their history fighting each other, Zor continued. They have nearly destroyed themselves multiple times, but each time they have survived and grown stronger. Council member Draz, a gelatinous being from a water world, bubbled with laughter. Many primitive species go through violent development stages. What makes these humans special? Zor nodded, having expected this question. It is not their violence alone that concerns me. It is their adaptability. New images appeared. Humans living in the frozen Arctic, in scorching deserts, underwater in specialized suits, even floating in space. Humans can survive in almost any environment. Their bodies heal from injuries that would kill most species. They adapt to poison by becoming resistant. They grow stronger when damaged. He displayed more images. Human athletes pushing through pain, soldiers continuing to fight despite injuries, scientists working without sleep for days. But their physical resilience is nothing compared to their mental adaptability. Humans learn at a rate that defies our understanding. They make intuitive leaps that bypass logical steps. And when faced with superior force, the final image showed ancient human warriors using simple tools to defeat enemies with better weapons. They become more dangerous, not less. They do not surrender when logic says they should. They fight harder. They take risks no rational species would consider. Chancellor Vex Morin waved a dismissive limb. Ambassador, these sound like the exaggerated tales explorers often bring back from primitive worlds. Do you have actual data to support these claims? Zor had prepared for skepticism. I submit 20 years of observations, interviews with human subjects, and statistical analyses. He transferred the files to the Council system. My recommendation is clear. Either approach humans with extreme diplomatic caution or avoid contact entirely. Quarantine? Gasped Council member Shrill, her feathers rising in surprise. For a pre-FTL civilization? Yes, Zor said firmly. At do. Minimum until we develop appropriate protocols for interaction. The Council chamber filled with murmurs. Quarantine was almost never recommended for developing worlds. The Alliance's standard procedure was to make contact, establish dominance, and integrate useful resources and knowledge. 12,000 miles away on Earth, Army Ranger Sergeant Alan Kelly signed his discharge papers. After 8 years of service, including 3 combat tours, he was returning to civilian life. He didn't feel ready. What will you do now, Kelly? Asked Captain Rivera, his commanding officer. Alan shrugged. My buddy works for North Star Security. Said they need people for some science outposts. Figured I'd check it out. Rivera nodded. You're a good man in a crisis, Kelly. Those science types could use someone like you watching their backs. Back eye. In the Council chamber, debate had erupted. The resources in the Sol system could benefit many Alliance worlds, argued Trell, a representative from a mining consortium. Initial scans show abundant rare minerals on multiple planets and moons, and their location has strategic value. added military advisor Gorn. His exoskeleton clicked as he pointed to Earth's position on the galactic map. This sector is thinly protected. Zor tried again. You're not listening. Humans don't respond. Like other species, our standard protocols will provoke them. In a remote Arctic research station, Dr. Olivia Morgan stared at her computer screen. The electromagnetic readings made no sense. For the 6th time this month, something had created a pattern that defied natural explanation. Dr. Morgan? Her assistant Kyle entered the lab with fresh coffee. You've been here all night again. Olivia took the coffee without looking up. There's a pattern here, Kyle. These signals aren't random and they're not from any known Earth source. Kyle sighed. Maybe get some sleep before you start claiming it's aliens? She finally looked at him, her eyes red from fatigue but bright with excitement. I'm not claiming anything yet, but something very strange is happening, and I intend to find out what. The object causing those readings was an Alliance probe, part of Zor's research team. It was now being recalled as the Council prepared to vote. Chancellor Vex Morin called for order. We will now vote on Ambassador Zor Thalik's recommendation for quarantine of the human homeworld. Zor watched as the votes appeared on the chamber's main display. His heart sank. Only 3 species had sided with him. The vast majority had voted to proceed with contact and assessment for resource extraction rights. The Council has decided, Vex Morin announced. Standard protocol will be implemented. A scientific vessel will establish an observation post in the Sol system, with authorization for first contact if deemed necessary. You're making a terrible mistake, Zor said quietly. The vote is final, Ambassador, the Chancellor replied. These humans are primitive, barely venturing beyond their own planet. What threat could they possibly pose to the Alliance? 6 days later, Alan Kelly arrived at the Arctic Research Station. The security briefing mentioned unusual activity in the area, possibly industrial espionage or foreign intelligence services. Interested in Dr. Morgan's work. Your job is simple, said the security chief. Keep the scientists safe, especially Dr. Morgan. Her research is apparently very valuable, though damned if I understand what it's about. Alan nodded. He'd protected high-value targets before. This would be easier than combat duty. Just a straightforward job until he figured out what to do with the rest of his life. He had no way of knowing that in 3 months, he would be fighting for the survival of his entire species, or that the quiet scientist he was assigned to protect would become humanity's greatest hope for victory against an enemy from beyond the stars. High above Earth, beyond the detection range of human instruments, the Alliance scientific vessel prepared for its approach to the solar system. Captain Dresmahar studied the briefing materials with satisfaction. This would be a routine mission. Observe, establish dominance, begin preliminary resource assessment. Sir, his junior science officer Kella approached hesitantly. I've been reviewing Ambassador Zor Thalik's reports on humans. They contain some concerning observations that weren't in the standard briefing. Noted, Officer Kella, the captain said without interest. Zor Thalik is known for his excessive caution. The Council has decided these humans pose no significant challenge. Kella wanted to argue but knew her place. She returned to her station, a sense of dread building inside her. Everything about this mission felt wrong. The ship's engines flared as it set course for Earth. 6 months passed quietly at the Arctic Research Station. Alan Kelly settled into his security role, running daily patrols and checking equipment. He found the work peaceful compared to his military service, though sometimes too quiet. The endless, white landscape and long polar nights took getting used to. Dr. Olivia Morgan rarely left her lab. When Alan delivered her meals, he often found her surrounded by screens of data, muttering to herself. She barely acknowledged his presence most days. But Alan noticed she was pretty when she actually looked up from her work, with intelligent eyes that seemed to see right through people. More strange signals last night, Olivia said one morning when Alan brought coffee. It was the most she'd spoken to him in weeks. What kind of signals? Alan asked, trying to show interest. Like nothing on Earth, she said, then seemed to catch herself. I mean, nothing in our database. The pattern suggests intelligence, not natural phenomena. Before Alan could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Red emergency lights flashed in the hallways. Security breach? Olivia asked, suddenly alert. Alan checked his phone. No, it's coming from higher up. Some kind of global alert. They rushed to the common room where other staff gathered around the television. Breaking news banners flashed across the screen. The image showed a massive ship hovering over Earth's atmosphere. It was like nothing humans had ever built. Sleek, with strange glowing sections and a size that dwarfed aircraft carriers. First contact, Olivia whispered, her face pale but her eyes bright with excitement. I knew it. The news anchor's voice shook as she reported. The object appeared suddenly near Mars orbit 6 hours ago. It has ignored all attempts at communication and is now approaching Earth. Military forces worldwide are on high alert. Alan's phone rang. It was North Star Security Headquarters. Kelly, we're evacuating all research personnel to secure locations. A transport is on the way to you now. Priority 1 is Dr. Morgan. Get her ready to move immediately. Within an hour, Alan and Olivia were in a military transport vehicle with 3 other security personnel, heading south toward a government bunker. The roads were surprisingly empty. Everyone's staying home, glued to their screens, said the, driver. Can't blame them. It's the biggest news in human history. Above them, the Alliance ship continued its approach. Captain Dresmahar studied the primitive human communications they were intercepting. They're panicking as expected, he told his officers. Their military vessels are mobilizing, but nothing that poses any threat to us. Officer Kella stood nervously at her station. Captain, Alliance protocol suggests we should attempt peaceful communication before any show of force. The captain's facial tentacles curled in amusement. I've done this 12 times, officer. Primitive species only understand one thing: power. We demonstrate our superiority. They surrender. Negotiations proceed smoothly. He turned to his weapons officer. Prepare a demonstration. Target that small, uninhabited island in the ocean they call Pacific. Sir, the weapons officer responded. Our scans show some human habitation on the northern section. Minimal casualties will only reinforce our message, the captain replied. Proceed. As the transport vehicle carrying Alan and Olivia wound through mountain roads, a bright flash lit up the sky behind them. The driver swerved, nearly going off the road. What was that? Alan asked, steadying himself. The radio crackled with an emergency broadcast. The alien vessel has destroyed Midway Island with some type of energy weapon. Early estimates suggest hundreds of casualties. The president will address the nation shortly. Olivia clutched Alan's arm. They're hostile. Why would they be hostile? Same reason anyone starts a fight, Alan said grimly. They think they can win. The transport rounded a bend and suddenly 3 black SUVs blocked the road. Men in civilian clothes but with military posture emerged with weapons drawn. Ambush, shouted their driver, reaching for his sidearm. Gunfire erupted. The driver slumped forward. Alan pulled Olivia down to the floor. Stay down, he ordered, drawing his own weapon. The security team returned fire, but they were outnumbered. 2 more went down before Alan could assess the situation. We need to move, he told Olivia. When I say go, run for those trees. She nodded, her face tight with fear but composed. Alan fired several covering shots, then shouted, Go. They ran, bullets striking the ground around them. They reached the tree line and kept moving, deeper into the forest. Behind them, they heard shouts as their attackers realized they'd escaped. In orbit, Junior Science Officer Kella watched in horror as humans worldwide reacted to the destruction of Midway Island. Instead of frightened submission, she saw anger. Military broadcasts indicated coordinated responses forming. Captain, she reported, human reaction is not following predicted patterns. They appear to be preparing to fight? Let them, Captain, Dresmahar said dismissively. Their weapons can't penetrate our shields. That's not what concerns me, Kella said. Ambassador Zorthalik's research specifically warned about human response to threats. They don't surrender when threatened. They unify and escalate. The captain's skin darkened with annoyance. Enough about Zorthalik. Send the ultimatum as planned. The Alliance message broadcast on all Earth frequencies. People of Earth. Your planet has been claimed by the Unified Stellar Alliance. Surrender all military assets and prepare for resource assessment. Further resistance will result in destruction of populated areas. You have 6 Earth hours to comply. Deep in the forest, Alan and Olivia found shelter in an abandoned ranger station. Alan barricaded the doors while Olivia searched for supplies. Who were those people? Olivia asked, placing canned food on a dusty table. Not military or government, Alan said. My guess is some kind of isolationist group. They probably think handing you over to the aliens will save them. Me? Why me? You're Dr. Olivia Morgan. Your research on electromagnetic anomalies has been all over internal briefings. Someone thinks you know something valuable. Olivia sat heavily on a wooden chair. The signals I've been tracking, they must have been from these aliens. They've been watching us. Alan found an old radio and tried different frequencies. Most were filled with panic or emergency broadcasts. Then he found a military channel. All available personnel report to nearest command center. This is not a drill. Repeat, all military and former military personnel are being activated under Emergency Protocol 7 Alpha. Alan looked at Olivia. I need to get you somewhere safe, then I need to report in. You're going to fight them. They just vaporized an island, Alan. He checked his weapon and the limited ammunition he had left. What choice do we have? We run, we hide, we eventually die. Or we fight and maybe find a way to survive. Outside, they heard voices approaching through the trees. They followed our trail, Alan whispered. We need to move again. There's a back window. As they slipped into the gathering darkness, the alien ship positioned itself over New York City. Panic spread through the streets. Some people fled, others stared up in awe and terror. In the council chambers light years away, Ambassador Zorthalik received the first reports of contact with Earth. His worst fears were confirmed. Standard protocols were being followed despite his warnings. He rushed to request an emergency session, but the bureaucracy moved slowly. By the time he could present his case again, he knew it might already be too late. You don't understand what you've done, he whispered to himself as he prepared his presentation. Humans don't break under pressure. They transform. Meanwhile, in orbit above Earth, Captain Dresmahar watched the deadline approach with satisfaction. Soon these humans would surrender, as all primitive species did when faced with superior technology. It was simply the natural order of things. He had no idea he had just started a war that would change the galaxy forever. The 6-hour deadline passed. Captain Dresmahar watched his viewscreen with growing irritation. Instead of surrender messages, Earth's governments had gone silent. Military communications continued at an increased rate, but they were now encrypted, in ways the Alliance ship's computers couldn't quickly break. Prepare another demonstration, he ordered. Target their capital city, Washington. Officer Kella stepped forward. Captain, I must formally object. Our scans show they are mobilizing, not surrendering. A second attack will show them the futility of resistance, the captain interrupted. Log your objection if you must. Before the weapons could fire, alarms blared across the ship. The tactical officer reported with surprise. Multiple launches detected worldwide. Hundreds of missiles approaching. Captain Dresmahar laughed. Primitive nuclear weapons. Our shields will hold. The missiles struck the shields in waves. As predicted, they caused no damage to the Alliance vessel, but something unexpected happened. Earth didn't stop. More missiles launched. Then, something new appeared on scanners. Sir, they're using their own satellites as weapons, the tactical officer reported with disbelief. They're deliberately crashing them into our shields at high velocity. A waste of resources, the captain said dismissively, though he was surprised by the tactic. Kella studied her console with growing concern. Captain, shield strength is dropping faster than expected. The constant impacts aren't allowing the regeneration cycle to complete. Before the captain could respond, a new alert sounded. Fighter craft approaching, hundreds of them worldwide. Human pilots in jets meant for atmospheric flight pushed their machines beyond safe limits. They knew they were flying to their deaths. But each one carried a payload, and they were determined to deliver it. Alan and Olivia had traveled through the night evading their pursuers. Near dawn, they reached a small town. Most buildings were empty, their inhabitants evacuated or fled. But the local police station showed signs of activity. Alan approached cautiously, Olivia close behind him. A young officer met them at the door. "Shotgun ready. Identify yourselves," he demanded. Alan slowly showed his North Star security ID. "Sergeant Alan Kelly, former Army Ranger. This is Dr. Olivia Morgan. We need to reach the nearest military installation." The officer lowered his weapon slightly. "Chief's inside on the radio with the National Guard. They're setting up a command. Post at the old mill 10 miles north. I can get you there." Inside, they found the police chief coordinating with remaining townspeople. Maps were spread across desks, and a collection of hunting rifles and shotguns lined one wall. "You're organizing." "A resistance," Olivia said with surprise. The chief, a gray-haired woman with hard eyes, nodded. "Got word from all over. Everyone's fighting back. These alien bastards think they can just come here and take our planet? Not without one hell of a fight." Alan studied the maps. "What's the plan at the mill?" "It's become a gathering point. Military, ex-military, anyone who can fight. They're coordinating with similar groups nationwide." She looked at Olivia. "Word is they especially need scientists. Something about studying alien tech." 30 minutes later, they were in a police cruiser heading north. The radio crackled with reports from around the country. The alien ship had destroyed parts of 3 major cities. But something had changed. Their weapons seemed weaker with each firing. In orbit, Captain Dresmahar faced a situation he'd never encountered. Shields at 38% and falling. How is this possible? The ship shuddered as another wave of impact struck. Earth had launched everything it had. Missiles, satellites, even space debris deliberately shifted into collision courses. "Sir, the tactical officer reported. We've lost weapons capability on the port side and communications are failing." Kella studied her readings with growing alarm. "Captain, humans are launching into space. They're attempting to board us." "Impossible," the captain roared. "No primitive species has ever—" The ship shook violently. Warning lights flashed across every console. "Hull breach in Section 8, someone shouted. "Security teams responding." For the first time, fear showed on the captain's face. "Send a distress call to the Alliance. Request immediate reinforcements." Kella turned from her station. "Communications are down, sir. We're cut off." At the old mill, Alan and Olivia found organized chaos. Military personnel worked alongside civilians. Trucks arrived regularly with supplies, weapons, and people. A makeshift command center operated from what had once been the mill office. Colonel Frank West, a stern-faced man with a prosthetic right hand, briefed them quickly. "Dr. Morgan, we're gathering scientists in the East Wing. We've recovered pieces of their technology from a damaged section that crashed in Nevada." "What can I do?" Alan asked. The colonel looked him over. "Former Ranger? Good. We're organizing. Strike teams for when we take the fight to them. Report to Major Lee in the warehouse." As Alan turned to go, Olivia caught his arm. "Be careful, Alan." He nodded, surprised by her concern. "You too. Make something that helps us win this thing." In the East Wing, Olivia found dozens of scientists from various fields working frantically. A central table held twisted metal pieces that clearly weren't human technology. They glowed faintly blue and seemed to hum. Dr. Peter Gaines, an older man Olivia recognized from academic conferences, waved her over. "Morgan, thank God. Your work on electromagnetic field manipulation is exactly what we need." He showed her readings from the alien technology. "See these energy patterns? They match some of your theoretical models." Olivia studied the data, her mind racing. "These look like the signals I was tracking in the Arctic, but much stronger." "Exactly. We think it's how their shields work. And maybe they're faster than light travel." Olivia's eyes widened. "If we can understand this, we might be able to disrupt their systems, maybe even adapt it for our own use." Across the room, a cheer erupted. Someone had managed to power up a small piece of alien equipment. It projected symbols in the air, possibly part of their control system. Meanwhile, aboard the damaged Alliance ship, humans had breached 3 sections. Alliance security forces fought desperately, but they were unprepared for human combat tactics. Humans accepted casualties that no rational species would tolerate. They kept coming, using the ship's own corridors as kill zones. Captain Dresmahar ordered all non-essential personnel to evacuation pods. "We need to abandon ship. Save what knowledge we can." "Sir," Kella objected, "Alliance protocol forbids leaving advanced technology in the hands of primitive species." "Look around you," the captain shouted. "Does this look like a primitive species?" "To you, they're boarding an Alliance battlecruiser. No species has ever dared." A security alarm blared. "Humans have reached the engine section," an officer reported. They're trying to take it intact, not destroy it." Kella felt cold. Fear. If humans captured Alliance engine technology intact, they could potentially reverse engineer faster than light travel. The implications were terrifying. In the council chambers, Ambassador Zorthalic finally gained an emergency hearing. He presented the first fragmentary reports from Earth with growing urgency. "The contact mission has failed catastrophically," he told the stunned council. "Captain Dresmahar followed standard protocols, and exactly as I warned, humans responded with unprecedented aggression and adaptability." High Chancellor Vexmoran's 6 eyes blinked rapidly in distress. "You're saying a pre-FTL civilization is defeating an Alliance battlecruiser?" "Not just defeating it," Zor responded grimly. "Capturing it, learning from it. If we don't act immediately, humans will gain access to interstellar technology while in a state of war psychology." The council chamber erupted in panicked discussion. This had never happened before. The protocols had always worked with primitive species. "I move for immediate deployment of the main fleet," military advisor Gorn stated. "We must contain this situation before it spreads." Zor shook his head sadly. "You still don't understand what you're dealing with. Send your fleet and you'll only teach humans more about how to defeat you." But the council had stopped listening to Zor once again. The vote passed overwhelmingly to send the main battle fleet to Earth. On Earth, in a secure underground facility, the first pieces of alien technology were being successfully reverse-engineered. Humanity was adapting faster than any species the galaxy had ever seen. The real war was just beginning. 3 weeks passed since the first alien attack. Humanity had transformed itself almost overnight. Ancient enemies now worked together against a common threat. Resources flowed across borders without hesitation. Military leaders who once pointed weapons at each other now planned joint operations. In a vast underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Olivia Morgan hadn't slept more than 4 hours at a stretch in days. She stared at the alien power core they had recovered from the crashed section of the Alliance ship. The blue glow pulsed gently, providing more energy than a nuclear plant despite being the size of a small car. "We've almost got it," she told the team of engineers around her. "The energy conversion is similar to my theoretical models, but they've solved problems I thought were impossible." Dr. Gaines looked up from his computer. "If we can replicate this, we could power weapons that might actually penetrate their shields." Olivia nodded. "Not just weapons, shields of our own, maybe even their faster-than-light drive system." A young engineer pointed to a section of the alien device. "This part connects to their navigation system. If we understand it correctly, they create some kind of fold in space." "A wormhole," Olivia said. "They don't travel through space. They bend it." Their discussion was interrupted by an alert. The facility was going into lockdown. Security personnel moved quickly, sealing doors and checking systems. Colonel West strode into the lab. "We've got incoming. Alliance forces have located this facility." "How?" Olivia asked, fear rising in her throat. "They're tracking their own technology. The power core you're working on is giving off a signal." Dr. Gaines looked alarmed. "We didn't detect any transmission." "It's not a transmission as we understand it," the colonel explained. "Something about quantum entanglement. Our scientists just figured it out, but it's too late to mask it." West turned to Olivia. How close are you to a breakthrough? We need another day, maybe two, she answered. The colonel nodded grimly. You'll get it. We're deploying everything we have to defend this facility. Miles away, Alan Kelly prepared, his strike team. After 3 weeks of training and smaller operations, they had become one of the most effective human fighting forces against the aliens. They had captured Alliance weapons and learned to use them, though human hands didn't fit the controls perfectly. Major Lee approached with new orders. Strike Team Alpha, you're being redeployed immediately. The research facility is under threat. Alan felt his heart rate increase. Dr. Morgan's facility? The same. Alliance forces have located it and are moving to destroy it. All available teams are being sent to defend it. Whatever they're working on there, it must be big. Within an hour, Alan's team was aboard a transport helicopter speeding toward the Rocky Mountains. Around them, dozens of other aircraft flew in formation. Below, convoys of military vehicles moved on every road. Alan checked his captured Alliance weapon. It was lighter than human guns, but far more powerful. His team had named it the Lightninger for the blue energy bolts it fired. We've got company, the pilot announced. Alliance aircraft approaching fast. Through the windows, Alan saw the alien ships. They looked like giant silver dragonflies, their wings rippling with energy. They moved faster than anything humans had built. Evasive maneuvers, the pilot shouted as the first energy blasts streaked past them. Human fighter jets. Engage the alien craft drawing their fire. The sky filled with explosions and falling debris. We're going in hot, the pilot warned. Prepare for immediate deployment. The helicopter dove toward a clearing near the mountain facility. Alliance ground forces were already engaging the human defenders. Blue energy blasts exchanged with gunfire and missiles. Alan's team leapt from the helicopter and immediately took cover behind rocky outcroppings. He assessed the battlefield quickly. The aliens had superior weapons but seemed to move. In predictable patterns, they fought like they were following a rulebook. Jensen, Carson, left flank, Alan ordered. Williams, provide covering fire. The rest with me. We're going to circle behind them. His team moved with practiced efficiency. 3 weeks of fighting this enemy had taught them valuable lessons. Alliance troops expected frontal assaults. They didn't anticipate being flanked or attacks from multiple directions simultaneously. Inside the facility, Olivia and her team worked frantically. They had made a breakthrough just as the attack began. The alien power core could be modified to create a localized disruption field that would disable Alliance weapons and possibly their communications. If we can amplify the effect, Olivia explained to Colonel West, we might be able to create a larger field that would protect the entire facility. Do it, West ordered. We'll buy you as much time as we can. On the battlefield outside, Alan's team had successfully outflanked a group of Alliance soldiers. Their alien armor protected them from direct hits, but Alan had discovered a weakness. The joints where the armor connected were vulnerable. Target the neck and knee connections, he told his team. Short bursts conserve power. The tide of battle began to turn as more human forces arrived. What the Alliance had expected to be a quick strike against a research facility had become a major engagement. In orbit, the remains of the first Alliance ship had been completely overrun. Human engineers and scientists swarmed through its corridors, learning everything they could from its technology. They had already begun adapting the ship's engines to human spacecraft. Captain Dresmahar, now a prisoner, watched in disbelief as humans mastered in days what had taken Alliance species generations to develop. How is this possible? He asked. Officer Kella, who had also been captured. They shouldn't be able to understand our technology, let alone use it. Kella had been observing the humans closely. They think differently. They make intuitive leaps, and they share information instantly across their planet. The council must be warned, the captain said quietly. The main fleet is coming, but they don't understand what they're facing. Kella nodded. Zorthalik understood. He tried to warn them. In the research facility, Olivia's team activated their modified power core. A wave of energy pulsed outward, creating a shimmering dome over the entire mountain. Alliance weapons inside the dome immediately stopped functioning. Their communications devices went silent. Outside the dome, Alan watched in amazement as the alien troops suddenly found themselves holding useless pieces of metal. The human forces pressed their advantage, surrounding and capturing the Alliance soldiers. They did it, Alan said to his team. Whatever Dr. Morgan was working on, they did it. As the battle ended, Alan made his way into the facility. He found Olivia in the main lab, surrounded by celebrating scientists. "Nice work, Doc," he said with a smile. She looked up, her face lighting with relief when she saw him. "Alan, you're okay. Takes more than some aliens to stop me," he joked. "So what exactly did you do out there?" Olivia's eyes shone with excitement. "We figured out how to disrupt their technology, and that's just the beginning. We're adapting their power systems to our weapons platforms. And," she lowered her voice, "we've begun to understand their faster-than-light drive. Alan, we might be able to take this fight to them." Before he could respond, Colonel West entered the lab. His face was grim despite the victory. "Our orbital sensors just detected multiple objects entering the solar system," he announced. "It's their main fleet, and it's much larger than we anticipated." The room fell silent. The real test was about to begin. The Alliance main fleet arrived in Earth's solar system, expecting to find a primitive civilization that had gotten lucky against a single ship. Instead, they found a transformed humanity. In just 1 month, humans had built a small but deadly space force using captured and reverse-engineered technology. On the bridge of the Alliance flagship, Fleet Commander Vrax surveyed the tactical display with growing concern. His fleet of 200 ships vastly outnumbered the human defenders, but initial scans showed the humans had already adapted Alliance shield technology to their vessels. "Impossible," he muttered. "No species adapts this quickly." His second-in-command approached cautiously. "Sir, we're detecting unusual energy readings from several of their larger vessels. They appear to have modified our standard drive systems in ways our computers can't identify." "Send in the first attack wave," Vrax ordered. "Let's see what these humans can really do." In Earth's orbit, the human defense fleet prepared for battle. These ships had been satellites, space stations, and early colonization vessels just weeks ago. Now they bristled with hybrid weapons systems combining human ingenuity with alien technology. Admiral Helen Rivera addressed the fleet from her command ship. "All vessels maintain defensive positions. Remember your training. We don't need to win, just hold them off long enough for Project Sunburst to deploy." In the secure facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Olivia Morgan worked frantically with her team. The device they had created filled the center of the laboratory, a modified Alliance power core connected to a complex array of equipment. It pulsed with blue-white energy that made the air crackle. "Final calibrations complete," Olivia announced. "The spatial disruptor is ready." Colonel West nodded grimly. "Are you certain about the effects?" "As certain as we can be," Olivia replied. "It will create a localized distortion in space-time, essentially folding a section of space in on itself. We've tested it on a small scale, but nothing like this." "And the target?" "An uninhabited star system 2 light-years from Earth. We've sent the coordinates to all human ships. They'll stay clear of the affected zone." The colonel activated his communications device. "Project Sunburst is go. Repeat, Sunburst is go." In space, the battle had begun. Alliance ships fired on the human fleet, expecting quick victories. But human vessels responded with unexpected tactics. They used their smaller size and greater maneuverability to avoid direct confrontation, instead striking with hit-and-run attacks that gradually wore down Alliance shields. Even more surprising were the modified weapons the humans had developed. They had discovered that rapidly shifting the frequency of energy weapons could periodically penetrate Alliance shields. Each hit wasn't devastating, but they added up. Fleet Commander Vrax watched in growing frustration as his first wave failed. To achieve the expected quick victory, send in the second and third waves. Overwhelm them with numbers. In the council chambers light years away, Ambassador Zorthalik had finally convinced the High Council to review live feeds from the Earth conflict. The council members watched, in stunned silence as human ships evaded and countered alliance tactics that had worked for centuries against other species. "As I warned," Zor said quietly, "humans don't respond like other species. They adapt, they innovate under pressure, and they fight harder when threatened." High Chancellor Vex Morin's 6 eyes blinked rapidly in distress. "How is this possible? They've had our technology for mere weeks. Because they think differently," Zor explained. "Where we see established patterns, they see possibilities. Where we follow protocols, they experiment. They fail faster, learn faster, and adapt faster than any species we've encountered." A junior council aide rushed in with an urgent message. The Chancellor read it and looked up in shock. "The humans have deployed some kind of spatial weapon. They're targeting the Novali system." Zor felt cold fear wash over him. "Evacuate the fleet, now." Back on Earth, Olivia and her team activated the spatial disruptor. The device hummed loudly, the blue-white energy pulsing faster. The air around it seemed to bend and distort. "Energy level stable," one scientist reported. "Targeting the Novali system." "Initiating spatial fold," Olivia said, her voice steady, despite her racing heart. The device released a massive surge of energy that shot upward through a specially designed conduit. In orbit, the energy was captured by a modified satellite and focused into a tight beam directed at the uninhabited star system. On the view screens, they watched as the beam struck its target. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, impossibly, the star at the center of the Novali system appeared to collapse in on itself. Space around it visibly distorted, light bending in ways that defied normal physics. In seconds, the entire star system vanished from sensors. "It worked," Olivia whispered. "We created a localized spatial anomaly." In the Alliance fleet, panic spread as sensors recorded the event. What the humans had done should have been impossible. They had weaponized spatial folding technology, something even the Alliance had never considered. "All ships, retreat immediately," Fleet Commander Vrax ordered. "Maximum distance from Earth." On the Council homeworld, emergency sessions convened. The implications were clear and terrifying. Humans had not only adapted Alliance technology, but improved upon it in ways no one had imagined possible. And they had done so while in a state of war psychology. High Chancellor Vex Morin turned to Ambassador Zorthalik. "What do they want? How do we stop this?" "Now you ask my advice?" Zor replied with bitter amusement. "It may be too late, but we must try for peace. Immediately, and with genuine respect." The Chancellor nodded to his aides. "Draft our most generous peace terms. Offer them full Alliance membership with all rights and privileges." 2 days later, Alan Kelly and Olivia Morgan stood together in a grand meeting room in Geneva. They had been selected as part of Earth's delegation to meet with Alliance representatives. Between them, they embodied humanity's response to the invasion, military ingenuity and scientific breakthrough. Ambassador Zorthalik led the Alliance delegation. As he approached the humans, he felt a mixture of fear and respect. "People of Earth," he began, "the Alliance offers peace and full membership in our galactic community." The human representative, a stern-faced woman who had once been Secretary General of the United Nations, replied coldly, "And if we refuse?" Zor answered with complete honesty, "Then we run. We have no defense against what you've created." Alan leaned close to Olivia and whispered, "Should we tell them the spatial weapon was mostly for show? That we can't actually control it properly? Yet?" Olivia smiled slightly. "I don't think that's necessary. Let them believe we're more dangerous than we are. It might keep the peace longer." Ambassador Zor, with his sensitive hearing, caught their whispered exchange. He realized with sudden clarity that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology or adaptability. It was their capacity to appear more dangerous than they actually were, a psychological weapon perfected through millennia of conflicts among themselves. As the formal negotiations began, Zor requested a private moment with the human delegation. "There's something you should know," he said quietly. "I tried to warn the Council about humans. I studied your species for 20 years. I knew what would happen if they threatened you." "Then why didn't they listen?" Alan asked. "Because you're unlike anything we've encountered before," Zor replied. "The Alliance has existed for thousands of years by following established protocols. You forced us to adapt. Perhaps that's not entirely bad." He looked at the humans gathered around him with new appreciation. "You've won your place among the stars through fear. But that's not a path that leads anywhere good. I'd suggest you show them what else humans can do." As the human delegation departed to consider the peace terms, Zor watched the Alliance officials scurrying to accommodate their new equals. He thought to himself, "They still don't understand. They're not running from human weapons. They're running from human potential, and that was a far more terrifying and wonderful thing."